Hello everyone, welcome back. I want to wish you all a happy 4th of July weekend. And I want to talk about the big beautiful bill that passed that made the tax stamp on suppressors and SBRs zero, but still keeps them in the registry. Okay, so last week I was like ranting and raving, really upset that they didn't kill the registry. Um, I did a whole bunch of videos where I'm like, vote the whole thing down. When it did pass, I did a video where I was like really like pissed off, butt hurt. Okay, so I've had a chance to kind of digest this whole thing, and it is kind of starting to grow on me a little bit, and I'm kind of like at the point now where I can kind of see the positive side of this. And when I say I was upset, like yesterday was the 4th of July. Normally I do like on the 4th of July, like almost every year, I do like a bump fire video, right? And I didn't even do one yesterday because I was like still so like upset that this bill passed the day before 4th of July. But now I was aware that if this bill passed, they were going to file a lawsuit, which they already did. Like they did it like within a day, to try and because basically the argument here is that the NFA is now unconstitutional, or the registry is unconstitutional because the registry is tied to the tax stamp. The purpose of the registry is to keep track of the tax being paid. If no tax is being paid, the argument is that the registry is unconstitutional, and the lawsuit is actually attacking the entire NFA, including the machine gun side of it. Now, if you look at most bills that are proposed, there's usually a clause in there that says that if any part of this law is found to be unconstitutional, the remainder of it is still in effect. I'm pretty sure that back in 1934, whatever they passed this, in the original NFA, they didn't include that clause. So if any part of the NFA is found unconstitutional, chances are that the entire thing goes down. Okay, so it's not like the immediate victory that I was looking for, where like within 15 days I could go get an unregistered suppressor. Okay, and so it's not the immediate victory, but having had a chance to digest this, this, like initially I was saying we'd be better off with nothing passing. I'm starting to like feel that this is a good place to start. We can do some serious work with this. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. Now, as far as Andrew Clyde and Chip Roy, they met with Trump, and they basically made a deal with him, right? We don't know what the details of that deal was. They did meet early in the day, right? I forget which day it was, but they did meet early in the day. And this thing, like after they had that meeting, this thing dragged all the way late into the evening when they finally made that vote. I'm 100% sure that they had already, like Chip Roy, Andrew, Clyde had already made that deal. Okay, the only reason now that they dragged it all the way into the evening was for drama effect. All right, they wanted to, they intentionally dragged this out. But I'm pretty sure that they already had this thing in the bag. Trump knew it was going to pass. The House Speaker knew it was going to pass. They already had Chip Roy's and Andrew Clyde's votes, and most of the other people that were holdouts. So what I'm really interested to know here is, what deal did Andrew Clyde make with Trump? Because I think that's where the real winner is, right? Because there's a lot of stuff he could have asked for. Among them, right? Because they already were planning that, hey, they had the backup plan in place where if this goes into law as is, they already had plans in place, like the GOA and some other groups had plans in place to sue, okay? the deal that they most likely got from Trump and from the Justice Department was that they were not going to fight this, that they were going to concede, which is, okay, great, I don't get my suppressor in 15 days, but maybe I'll get it in 30 days or whatever, or 60 or 90 days. Okay, so that's the deal that I hope that Andrew Clyde and Chip Roy made with Trump, that they were going to concede when this went to court and not fight it, and that would be a pretty easy victory for us. Okay, the other thing that I'm hoping they got out of this, because there was a time not too long ago where you could actually order suppressor parts and build your own suppressors, and then you file the Form 1 after the fact to register and pay that tax stamp. So there's a lot of leeway with that, right? So they could go back to saying, hey, it's legal for you guys to buy suppressor parts and build your own suppressors. I mean, you could do it now. You could just take any shielded muzzle brake, and if you know how to weld, you can kind of turn that into a suppressor. But I would like to get something better than that, right? I'd like to get parts that are a little bit, that require a little bit less work, so they could go back to, okay, you can get like the parts, and then file your Form 1 after the fact. They could say that you got 90 days or 6 months or a year, okay, to register it, right? They got some leeway there, right? That wouldn't be a bad deal for us either, okay? Same thing with the SBRs, where that's just a matter of like sliding off the pistol brace and sliding on a regular stock. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've had a chance to digest this, calm myself down a little bit, and I think we're actually in a better place than we were before with this big, beautiful deal. The most important thing here is that Clyde actually got a meeting with Trump. Chip Roy got a meeting with Trump, which they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Now, by comparison, if we look at, I forget who the one holdout was. It was Thomas Massey, right? So he was the other holdout that ultimately ended up not voting for it, right? And he got nothing for it, right? So he held out, refused to do it, was talking, his main issue was that it didn't reduce the deficit, held out to the very end, voted against it, got nothing. All right, so that, like, between the two, yeah, you know what, Chip Roy's and Andrew Clyde's approach is the more productive one. Okay, as far as the budget side of this, right? Because a lot of people are saying, oh, we're adding $4 trillion to the national debt. Okay, so by now everybody knows that every 3 months $1 trillion is being added just in interest, right? Compounding interest. Okay, so $1 trillion every 3 months times 4 comes out to $4 trillion a year just in interest. Okay, so you pretty much have to increase the budget by $4 trillion just to cover the interest side of this, just to kind of keep yourself where you're at with your expenses. Okay, now the thing is, okay, so if you look at the total budget, right, if $4 trillion of the government's budget is interest on the national debt, and then the Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare is $2 trillion, right? So you got 4 plus 2, you're already up to $6 trillion. Well, that's all the revenues of the United States government, right? The revenues of the projected revenues per year in 2025 of the United States government is a total of $6 trillion. Okay, so if you've got $4 trillion in interest, $2 trillion in your entitlements, Social Security, Medicaid, you're already up to $6 trillion. You haven't even added the military budget into that, which is basically another $1 trillion. So with that, you're already up to $7 trillion. When you're looking at this and you're saying that, okay, of the $6 trillion that come in revenues, 4 of it goes out to interest. You got to ask yourself, okay, who's getting this money? Okay, Where's this compounding interest, right? This $4 trillion per year. Who's getting it? Where's it going? In fact, the whole $37 trillion of national debt, who do we owe it to? Bankers? Okay, so my solution on that is really simple. Write it off, okay? Now, some people are going to lose some money on this, right? So you compensate them. You make a deal, you compensate them. No, they're not going to get everything that they're owed, all right? But you can compensate, you know, some of the people on that. But there's absolutely no way to pay off this national debt. At this point, like, there's no way to pay off just the annual interest of $4 trillion on the national debt, because it's grown to such a point. Like if that was your personal budget, where you had, okay, let's take out the trillions. Let's say you're making your total revenues for the year are $6,000, right? All right, that's what you make, and the interest that you pay is $4,000. Okay, there's no way you're gonna get out of that, right? So you have to file bankruptcy. You have to have that debt eliminated. Okay, so that's kind of where the government is right now. There's absolutely no way, with a total of $37 trillion, that they're ever going to pay off just the interest on it, let alone starting to dig into the actual debt. It needs to be written off. Okay, we don't owe that amount of money to anybody. There's nobody that the government can borrow $1 trillion from. Okay, just to give you guys some perspective, 1 million seconds is about a week. 1 billion seconds is 31 years. Okay, 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. Okay, so the number trillion is an astronomical number, right? We shouldn't be talking in trillions unless we're talking about molecules or grains of sand or stars. Okay, so there's nobody in the world for the government to borrow $1 trillion from. The number trillion, the national debt, just represents how much our money has been diluted. Okay, so basically the government electronically prints up money, and that has the effect of diluting our existing savings. So this is not some future tax that we're going to have to pay. This is a current tax that we're paying through money dilution, right? Because anytime the government reduces the buying power of your savings through money printing, through money dilution, they have taxed you, right? Because they're reducing your purchasing power. Okay, so the national debt is not something in the future that future generations are going to pay. It's something that you're paying for right now through money dilution. Every time you go to the grocery store and everything's more expensive, right? That's the tax that you're paying for the money printing that they're doing. Okay, so I needed to throw that in there. So I think Thomas Massie, although his heart is in the right place, I don't think he fully understands that the national debt just represents the money dilution. Okay, the only way to really fix that is to take money out of circulation so that money will appreciate in value. Okay, that's the only real way to fix the national debt. It's not a matter of paying it back. It's a matter of taking all the money that you've divided and putting it back together and reducing the amount of money in circulation, otherwise known as, instead of inflation, we got deflation, right? They call it deflation, which comes with its own set of problems. Okay, so not happening. Forget it. Okay. So I think Thomas Massie, good guy, heart's in the right place, but we're at the point where the national debt can never be paid off. The interest on the national debt cannot be paid off because the annual interest is $4 trillion and the total revenues of the government, of the entire federal government, is $6 trillion. So you're already way beyond anything that you can pay. So anyway, I had to put that out there. The other guy that was a holdout was Fitzpatrick, a rep from here in Pennsylvania, where I'm at. And his main issue is that this guy's really, this guy's a true rhino. He's basically a Republican from I think from Philadelphia or outside of Philadelphia. He's a Democrat from a mostly blue district. So he had to vote against it. I mean, that was a given. He had to vote against it in order for him to have a chance at staying in office. The main issue that, the main thing out there is that they're saying that this big beautiful bill is going to reduce Medicaid benefits, and that's not true. The only people that it's going to reduce it from are from the illegal aliens that don't belong in this country anyway and shouldn't be getting it. Okay, so like as far as I'm concerned, like the same way that like if you know you commit a crime, they should if an illegal commits a crime, you know, I should basically show up there and start the whole deportation process. Okay. The same thing with if one of these illegals shows up at an emergency room. Okay, they treat them, and ICE shows up, and they immediately start the deportation process. Okay, that's how that should be working out. They're still gonna treat them in the hospitals, right? Like in the emergency room. The reason why the cities don't want it, right, is because basically the cities are mostly, I'm sorry, the hospitals are mostly city funded with the emergency rooms. So what ends up happening is if the hospitals can't get the money from Medicaid, right, what ends up happening is the cities end up having to eat the cost. So that's why the cities don't want this. They don't want they want to keep that Medicaid money coming in. The solution to this is very simple. You know, deport them out of your cities, and you're not going to have that expense. Okay, so the immigration deportation portion of this bill is not as much as I was hoping for, but it's still a step in the right direction. From the perspective of gun rights, and we want to deport these illegals. Okay, so for us, all these people that are coming into this country, right, illegally, they come from a culture, from a background where people don't have guns. The only people that have guns in Central and South America are gangsters and the government, right? And a lot of times they are one and the same, right? The gangsters and the government, you know, the government people are gangsters. So the people, you know, all these illegals coming to us from Central and South America, their lived experiences that only gangsters and government have guns, so they're more likely to vote in favor of gun control if they ever become, you know, if they ever get into the voting population. So we don't want them in this population, right? If they become citizens, they're going to be voting against gun rights. So we don't want them there. We want to get rid of them before that process even starts. So strictly from the perspective of gun rights, that's the reason why you don't want these illegals in this country. There's a whole host of other reasons, primarily that, you know, they're eating up resources. There's only so much pie to go around, right? Just like if I'm having dinner and I invite 20 family members, but then an extra 10 family members show up, well, now the amount of food that the 20 of us were going to eat now has to be split up amongst 30 people. So, you know what? That's not what I was planning for. Those extra 10 people, right, even if they're family members, they got to go. They can't stay here, okay? So, yeah, only the people that you invite into your house are the ones that can come into your house to have dinner. It doesn't matter if the extra 10 are, even if part of your family, they weren't invited, they don't belong there, they got to leave, okay? Because otherwise it's less food for the people that were invited, okay? So that's how I feel about immigration. And you know, you can probably tell a little bit in my accent. My family actually immigrated into this country. I was born in this country, but my family legally immigrated into this country. And very typical about people that immigrated legally into this country, they are very much against people coming into the country illegally because it's not fair. Okay, so that's typically going to be the position of all the people that have come into this country legally. They don't want other people coming in behind them illegally. Okay. So anyway, main point here is I wanted to talk to you guys about how I feel about this big, beautiful bill. After I've had a couple of days to digest it, I think it's for the better. Okay. It could have been a lot better, but you know what? We're probably better off with it than without it. It's a starting point. There's going to be more reconciliation bills. We can pretty much only work through these reconciliation bills where you only need 51 votes in the Senate. Almost nothing that requires 60 votes, right? Almost nothing that requires to pass the 60-vote filibuster is going to pass the Senate. Okay, so we're kind of limited to try to get things in through these budget reconciliation bills that only require 51 votes in the Senate, and that's where we kind of have to sneak everything in, and we have to kind of work with the rhinos you know, I give you guys another example with, think about that senator from Alaska, Murkowski, because she was a holdout in the Senate because, you know, eventually she voted for the big, beautiful bill because she wanted to get some goodies for her people. I think it was like the captains of some, you know, basically some whaling captains or something. But she didn't get everything that she wanted for them, but she got something. And kind of, you know, think about that for a minute. Like, they're kind of like the other side of where we are. Us on the gun side rights, we're trying to get as much as we can. You know, on that side, they're trying to get as much as they can for what they do and what they're interested in. And she essentially did the same thing. Like, she made a deal, right? She made a deal to get them something. It wasn't everything that they wanted, but she got them something. And reality is that, you know, Murkowski's people in Alaska are better off for it, okay? Rather, as opposed to them not getting anything, right? They got something out of it. Well, that's kind of where we are on this side right now, okay? We wanted more. We wanted to completely kill the the suppressor and SBR registry. We didn't. We got rid of the tax stamp, and we've got a pathway to getting rid of the registry and potentially getting rid of the entire NFA. So it makes sense to put all our efforts behind it, you know, okay? And then just start working on the next reconciliation bill and try to get as much as we can out of the next one, right? Just little baby steps, okay? And a number of people said this in the comments, right? In the videos. When I was ranting and raving last week, people were saying, hey, baby steps, you know, which is something I've said in the past. But it's just like, oh man, we were just so close that it's like, you know, I was just like trying to get to that finish line to, you know, to get rid of that gun registry. But people were saying, you know, just, you know, baby steps, you know. But yeah, apparently that's the only way to win, all right? That's the only way that we're going to get anywhere. And I mean, yeah, we've moved the ball forward a little bit, okay? So drop some comments. Let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you soon.